Have your precious cutting mat curled and it's now really hard to use? No worries, with a few easy steps you'll be able to get back your mat into flat shape, and in this video I will show you how. What causes a warped cutting mat? Usually it's either heat, storing it vertically, or moisture that causes the mat to curl. It can of course also be a combination of these factors, and the bigger the mat, well, the more common this issue seems to be. To flatten a curl cutting mat, you'll need the following things: an iron, a pressing cloth, a large wood plank or a cutting board, and lots of heavy books. You'll start by pressing the mat with an iron. Place a pressing cloth onto the mat to protect the surface. Then you place the iron on top using low to medium heat and press carefully, starting with just a few seconds. Now check the heat of the mat. The mat should be warm to touch, but nowhere near burning. And if the mat isn't warm enough, just iron on it for a bit longer. Now add pressure onto the warm surface. You place the wood board or cutting board and then the books over that heated warped area. Make sure that the weights cover a larger area that is actually larger than the warp, because if you don't, you'll run the risk of just moving that curled area to another spot of the mat, so you really need to make sure that a large area is actually pressed down. And once you're done with that, just let the mat cool under pressure. For best effect, it's probably a good idea to keep the weights on for an hour or two, but more than that, well, it's usually not needed. And then you remove the weights and check the mat. Now the surface should have begun to flatten, but don't expect it to be totally flat on your first attempt. This method, while easy, it also requires some patience. And if it's not flat enough, just repeat the same pressing sequence. Do this as many times as needed. In this case, I actually had to repeat the process 4 times until the mat was flat enough for my liking, but your mileage might vary. And here is the flattened mat. Now note, of course, if your mat is badly curled and in several spots like mine was, maybe it's unrealistic to expect the mat to be 100% restored to its original shape, but if you're using this method that I've shown in the video, it will make a massive difference and you will get your mat 100% usable again. And if you want to learn even more ways to properly flatten your warped cutting mat, I highly recommend that you check out the extended version of this tutorial, where I go more in depth about all the different methods you can try, and also I share some stuff that, well, doesn't work as well. So link to that video will of course be in the description section.